Chapter 181. Lu Xun's visit. Approximately when Zhao Wei began to cultivate after consuming the Unravel Yin pill in the forest behind Hongqian Academy, Yuan Dao was finally done adjusting his state, and he stared fixedly at the jade bottle before him. He was a wandering cultivator, and due to his lack of proper guidance, his results in the entrance examination were poor. Unlike Zhao Wei, who has a private dormitory of her own, he could only squeeze in with the others. Since Zhong Laosha said that applying the paste in the jade bottle will be painful and dangerous, it was clear that he can't do it in the dormitory. Thus, after pondering over the matter, he decided to come here. It was quiet with no threats of an assault by a savage beast or so, making it a suitable ground for cultivation. I should begin. As he had already made up his mind previously, there was nothing for him to hesitate about. He opened the bottle immediately. Wang! An overwhelming smell of pungent blood gushed out from the jade bottle. Following promptly, he felt an extraordinarily violent energy and it made him tremble involuntarily. After taking off the clothes on his body, piece by piece, he poured out the liquid from the jade bottle and spread it on his body. The moment the crimson-red fluid came into contact with his skin, Yuan Dao felt as though his entire body was pierced with needles. The pain was so excruciating that he felt as though his skin was being torn over and over again. Under the excruciating pain, Yuan Dao collapsed onto the floor. This pain far surpassed all other which he had experienced in the past. It felt as though someone was carving his skin off with a sharp dagger. His face lost all colors quickly, taking on a shade of absolute paleness. Cold sweat dripped off Yuan Dao's face and his body shivered unceasingly. The pain. His sight blurred and he found himself losing grasp on his consciousness. No matter what, he is just a 16 to 17-year-old child. Regardless of what he had gone through and what he had suffered in the past, he would still cower in the face of excruciating pain. Why don't I give up? The present state of things is not that bad. Why do I have to raise my strength? The thought invaded his mind, striking at his will repeatedly. If I give up, will Zhong Laosha reprimand me? Just as he felt his determination wearing thin, a figure suddenly appeared before him. Zhong Laosha. He was looking at him with that ever-impassive expression. His eyebrows were creased, and his displeasure was apparent. No, I can't betray the trust he has in me. Noticing the seemingly angered Zhong Laosha, Yuan Dao shivered and illimitable fighting spirit came gushing out from him anew. Before meeting Zhong Laosha, he was always the butt of jokes. Not only was he plump and had poor comprehension ability, his cultivation realm was sorely lacking. He had pleaded with more than 10 teachers, only to be chased out of each of their doors. No one wanted to bother him. He thought that he spent his life without achieving anything. But he met Zhong Laosha. It's Zhong Laosha who did not despise him for his figure or his ability. It's Zhong Laosha who specially tailored cultivation techniques for him, even toiling through the night to obtain this liquid so that he can improve and break through to higher realms. To him, Yuan Dao felt indebted. The other party had put effort into grooming him. If he were to be unable to take such little bit of pain, how can he have the cheek to face him in the future? Zhong Laosha, rest assured. I will not let you down. I will persevere on and obtain your approval. An unyielding resolution bloomed in his heart. When his eyes opened once more, he realized that the heart-wrenching pain had dulled by a fair bit. After an unknown period of time, the pain slowly subsided. Lowering his head to take a look, Yuan Dao realized that the red substance he had spread over his entire body had been completely absorbed. At the same time, a thick layer of armor resembling scales had appeared on his skin. Even though he had no idea what it was, he knew that his defensive ability had been increased by multiple folds. Zhong Laosha said that it isn't sufficient to just apply the substance once. Continue. Seeing that there is still a fair bit of liquid in the jade bottle, Yuan Dao spread it over his body once more. After going through the agony once, Yuan Dao felt a little hesitant. However, upon thinking of Zhong Laosha, Yuan Dao steeled his heart. Eventually, he utilized the entire bottle of red substance. This is... Lowering his head to take a look, Yuan Dao realized that a layer of cuticle had formed on the surface of his skin after he had absorbed the red substance, and it is somewhat reminiscent of fish scales. I should give it a try. Doubtful, the flames of curiosity appeared in Yuan Dao's mind, and he charged straight at a tree nearby. Catcher! With a crisp sound, the bowl-sized thick tree was immediately broken at the trunk. At the same time, all he felt on his body was an itch. There wasn't even the slightest bit of pain. Yuan Dao's eyes narrowed. Just how strong are his defensive and offensive abilities now? Teacher! I have succeeded. Recalling the suffering that he had gone through, Yuan Dao clenched his fists and tears came streaming down his cheeks. At the very least, I didn't betray teacher's trust in me. Xianxia, I have succeeded in meeting your goal. At the same time, Wang Ying, Xingyang, and Liu Yang were also working hard. After receiving a movement technique manual and a leg technique manual from Xianxia, Wang Ying did not hesitate in the least and returned back home immediately to train. Her fighting prowess is rising progressively. Xingyang continued to push against the boundaries of Fighter 2 Dan so that he can reach Dantian realm within 5 days. Liu Yang had also started practicing Heaven's Path fist art. The sound of his fists created sonic booms here and there. While the 5 great disciples were busy training, the respected teacher, Xianxia, finally woke up, stretching his back lazily. How did I fall asleep here? Upon opening his eyes, he realized that he had fallen asleep in the resting area in the classroom. There were no beddings, but he didn't feel the slightest chill. Unknowingly, a layer of clothes had been placed on him to keep him warm. There were both male and female clothing in the mix. His 5 students, fearful that he would catch a cold, took off their coats for him. These little fellows. Zhongxian shook his head. Due to the overwhelming exhaustion he felt yesterday, he fell asleep the moment he sat on the chair. His students probably carried him here gently before covering him with their clothes. Looks like he had really overexerted himself. Otherwise, given his strength, it shouldn't have been possible for him to be moved without realizing it at all. After the sleep, the fatigue which he had accumulated over 5 days disappeared entirely. Looking through the windows, he realized that it is already noon the next day. Since I've accepted their money, I should attend to their problems. As a master teacher, he had accepted 80 million from the others. Given his fatigued state, it is one thing for him to have ignored them yesterday. However, now that he has recovered, he should at least offer them some pointers in return for their money. Otherwise, he would feel guilty. Returning back to his residence, he saw Sun Qiong welcoming him anxiously with tears brimming from his eyes. After eating some food, Zhongxian had Sun Qiong invite the people in, according to the sequence in which they paid up. These people were mainly those who had met a wall in their cultivation and hoped to achieve a breakthrough. A person's cultivation is just like a river flow. If one is unable to achieve a breakthrough, it means that there must be something hindering him from doing so. Possessing the library of Heaven's Path, Zhongxian is able to easily locate the blockage site and, utilizing his silver needles and pure junqi, inducing a breakthrough isn't a difficult task at all. After all, these people had cultivated for an extremely long time and the accumulation of their hard work had brought them to a state where they are merely a single step away from breaking through, just that this step had obstructed their path for a very long time. What Zhongxian had to do was to merely assist them across the door. Using the river analogy once more, just by inducing a crack in the obstruction, the overwhelming volume of water which had accumulated over time would blast open the entire blockage through sheer force. Of course, while the principle sounds simple, it is nigh impossible for any other master teacher to accomplish the same feat as Zhongxian. Be it physique, cultivation technique, habits, every single person varies immensely from the other. Thus, the blockage in each and every person differs greatly. It is just like how there are no 2 identical leaves in the world. The blockages in the meridian within a cultivator's body were vastly different. Without the library of Heaven's Path, it would be impossible for one to know where the source of the problem is, needless to say, help the other person achieve a breakthrough. Outside Zhongxian's residence, Sun Qiong opened the door and shouted, "Next!" "I'm sorry, can you let us through?" The moment Sun Qiong's words sounded, another voice came from the back and 2 young men came forward with widened strides. They are Lu Zun and Wang Chao from Hongqian Academy, and they are here to visit Xianxia. As they were dressed in teachers' robes, even though the crowd was displeased by their action of cutting their queue, they nevertheless opened up a path for them. Butler Sun, We are. Wang Chao stepped forward and clasped his hands. They had waited for an entire day, and initially, they thought that their statuses as star teachers would be able to attract Xianxia's attention and that he would quickly summon them in. Yet, Xianxia did not appear the entire day. Whenever Sun Qiong emerges, he would just shout for the next in the queue to enter. He refused their name scrolls, and this caused them to panic. Scram! Before Wang Chao could even finish his words, Sun Qiong frowned. Did you think that this is your house, for you to charge forward like this? Go to the back of the queue. Aye. To be bellowed at by a mere Pigu realm butler, Wang Chao's face flushed and he nearly exploded into rage. As a star teacher, regardless of where he goes, Wang Chao receives tremendous respect. There are no master teachers in Xianxia Kingdom, and as such, Lu Xun and he are the most welcomed figures in the capital. He thought that just by stepping forward to reveal his identity, he would be able to hand over his name scroll and enter the residence. Yet, beyond his wildest dreams, before he could even finish his sentence, this plump butler demanded him to scram. Why? Do you wish to violate the rules? Sun Qiong flung his hands majestically. Do you want to try me? Without even lifting a single finger of mine, there will be someone to throw you out. The heck? Where did this bumpkin come from? To dare to cut the queue outside a master teacher's residence, he must be truly ignorant. Even though Sun Qiong isn't a master teacher, the people who are here to pay Xianxia a visit would be more than willing to do the job for him. Hearing these words, Wang Chao became so angry that his body started to tremble with agitation. Anywhere else, such an insignificant figure would have been easily crushed by him with a single, casual blow, and no one would dare to speak up for him. Yet, this person is now asking him to scram, even threatening to throw him out. His face flushed, and he clenched his fists tightly. Even though he was angry, he didn't dare to rebuke Sun Qiong. After all, they are here to earn Xianxia's favor and become his apprentice. If they were to offend his butler even before meeting him, all hope would be lost. Butler Sun, please calm down. I am Lu Xun, a teacher from Hongqian Academy. I wish to pay Xianxia a visit, and I hope that you can help refer us to him. Extending his hand to restrain his good buddy, Lu Xun stepped forward with a smile on his face. Lu Xun Laosha. Sun Qiong was taken aback. Even though he was just an ordinary merchant in the commercial city who rarely came into contact with top-notch figures, he had long heard of Lu Xun Laosha's great name, him being an incredibly famous figure in the capital. He is the sole son of the emperor's tutor, Master Lu Chen, as well as the most likely person in Xianxia Kingdom to become a master teacher. Not only so, despite being under 25, he has already achieved Pishua realm. His talent is top-notch, even within the entire kingdom. Due to his identity, even Fighter 7 Dan Tongxian realm experts treat him with the utmost respect. Yet, Sun Qiong just asked him to scram. Cough cough, his luck is truly bad. He had just offended 3 master teachers, and now, he has offended another potential master teacher. He had seen how the old master criticized others however he wished, and it looked easy then. Yet, why was it that difficult for him to do the same? Chapter 182, Throw him out. This is our name scroll. I hope that Butler Sun can help us pass it to Xianxia. If we were to be summoned by Xianxia, us brothers will be extremely grateful for your help. Seemingly seeing through Sun Qiong's fear, Lu Xun smiled faintly. He placed his hands behind his back and displayed a confident smile. Since young, his life had been smooth sailing. Furthermore, with the reputation that he had made for himself in the past few years, a confident demeanor had grown in him. Within the Xianxia Kingdom, who would dare to treat Lu Xun with disrespect? In the past, he relied on his father's prestige as the emperor's tutor. But now, he had made a name for himself as the star teacher Lu Xun. All right. Nodding his head, Sun Qiong grabbed the name scroll and walked into the residence. Even though Lu Xun is merely a celebrity teacher now, given experience, it is extremely likely that he would become a master teacher. As a lowly butler, Sun Qiong did not want any involvement in a matter between master teachers. Thus, he decided to leave the matter to the old master. Abusing his authority, acting like he is in charge. Upon seeing the plump man change his attitude after hearing Lu Xun's name, Wang Chao harumphed coldly, and a look of disdain appeared on his face the moment Sun Qiong disappeared into the mansion. He had investigated Sun Qiong's background beforehand. He was only the boss of a realtor store, and for some reason, he caught Xianxia's sight, causing the massive change in his social standing. Despite reaching Pigu realm only after 40 years of age, being fat like a pig, and possessing no special capabilities whatsoever, he dared to bellow at him. If not for his identity as Xianxia's butler, he would have long taught him a lesson. He's just an insignificant figure. Brother Wang, you need not pay him any heed. Lu Xun chuckled. So it's Lu Xun Laosha and Wang Chao Laosha. I apologize for failing to recognize you two. You both are famous celebrities in the entire kingdom. I've been wanting to pay you a visit, and it is truly a pleasant surprise to meet you here. It is truly my honor to be meeting you two. I might have to impose on you two in the future. Hearing the exchange, those queuing behind them dispelled their anger immediately and acted politely to them. Teachers can be classified into two categories: ordinary teachers and master teachers. Ordinary teachers can be further subdivided into low-level, high-level, and star teachers. On the other hand, master teachers can be differentiated as apprentices and certified master teachers. Lu Xun and Wang Chao belong within the first classification, but they had attained the highest level, therefore gaining the qualification to become a master teacher. As long as they receive the acknowledgement from a master teacher, they would be promoted to become an apprentice master teacher immediately and soar to great heights. Possessing such a status, even though those waiting by the doors are powerful experts with exceptional standing in the kingdom, they did not dare to offend them. Furthermore, they are here to pay a visit to Xianxia. If things go well, they might well become Xianxia's apprentice. Flattering them then would be too late. Upon seeing the attitude of the crowd, Lu Xun and Wang Chao chuckled simultaneously as they clenched their fists in agitation. At this moment, they felt an overwhelming sense of superiority, as though a single word of theirs can change the fate of others, as though they had already become apprentice master teachers. The reason why they had been trying to make a name for themselves at such a young age is precisely because of this. Please do not get angry at that butler. When you both become Xianxia's apprentice, he will never dare to say such words again. A cultivator fawned upon them. Indeed. Once you become Xianxia's apprentices, you will be considered his disciples. On the other hand, he is just a butler, a servant. Another person chirped in. You're all being too polite. How can becoming an apprentice master teacher be so simple? Even though Lu Xun's words seemed humble, a confident smile was displayed on his face, as if to say, who else but me? But that is to be expected. He is known as the most incredible star teacher in the entire Xianxia kingdom. If a master teacher were to be looking for an apprentice, no one in the entire kingdom would be able to compete against him. Lu Laosha, you're being too humble. I've heard that Liuxia has the intention to accept you as his disciple. I've also heard of it. But judging from how even Liuxia paid a visit to Xianxia personally, if you can become Xianxia's apprentice, your starting point will be even higher. If you become Xianxia's apprentice, your standing will probably not lose to any other one-star master teacher. When that time comes, we'll be relying on you too. A few more people offered their flatteries. Don't worry. If Xianxia really accepts me as his apprentice, I won't forget any of you. Lu Xun and Wang Chao chuckled together. They stood proudly before the others as though a lotus rising above the mud, inviolable beings whom others can only look up to respectfully. Jia! At this moment, the entrance opened and Sun Qiong emerged once again. Seeing him reappear, the duo stepped forward immediately. Sorry for the trouble, Butler Sunday. Please lead the way. Wang Chao chuckled haughtily as he proceeded to walk toward the mansion. However, before he could even take a few steps, a plump figure blocked his path. Then, he saw Sun Qiong look at them with a peculiar expression. Could it be that Xianxia did not allow us to enter? Wang Chao's face darkened. That shouldn't be. They had listed their accomplishments in detail on the name scroll. As well-qualified star teachers, how is it possible that they are rejected? Enter. Who allowed you to enter? You two have two choices. You can either join the queue from the back or scram. Sun Qiong gestured with his hands authoritatively. You. He didn't expect that the other party would continue behaving like that even after the name scroll had been handed over. Lu Xun and Wang Chao were infuriated. Is this Xianxia's intentions? As a lowly butler, you should know your place to not falsely report your master's words. Lu Xun stepped forward. He had his moment of glory when everyone else thought that Xianxia would summon them in. If they were to be rejected like this, his reputation would fall into the gutters immediately, and he would find it difficult to lift his head before anyone else in the future. Falsely report? Men, throw these two troublemakers out. Sun Qiong could not be bothered with them and beckoned for the guards. Huala. Several guards appeared from behind the gate, and each armed with a rod, they walked toward Lu Xun and Wang Chao. You! Wang Chao's face was flushed red. Sun Qiong, how dare you? What do you mean by this? Thrusting rods at me? Do you think that we're beggars? We're star teachers, respected figures in the entire Xianxia kingdom. If we were to be driven away by you like that, what will become of our dignity? Why would I dare not to? My old master has already instructed that no matter who it is, if one wants to meet him, he has to queue up and pay 3 million gold coins. Teachers are no exception. Otherwise, if everyone were to visit with just a name scroll in hand, won't the old master be exhausted to death? To think that you are a star teacher, Pui. To dare cut the queue without even paying. Please do not tarnish the reputation of teachers any further. Sun Qiong stared at the two contemptuously. He waved his arm, as though driving away flies, and said, "Throw them out." He also felt anxious earlier on. But when he handed the name scroll to the old master, the latter only asked a single question: have they paid yet? Upon hearing that they had not paid the sum, he simply ordered Sun Qiong to handle as per the rule. From this, it can be seen that star teachers do not mean anything to the old master at all. Oh well, even when the 3 master teachers paid their visit, the old master did not hold them in high regard. If so, what would a mere star teacher mean to him? Huala. Upon hearing Sun Qiong's command, the guards stepped forth. The 2 teachers, please. As they said so, strange looks appeared on their faces. I always thought that teachers value their dignity a lot. It turns out that they wish to sneak in just by using name scrolls and avoid the entrance fee. Xianxia's actions are applaudable. He views everyone as equals, and even teachers are not given special privileges. I am impressed. To have cut queue when they don't have money. They sure are thick-skinned. To think that I wanted to befriend them just now. It is impossible for such low-class people to attract Xianxia's attention. To think that they wanted to become his apprentices. How hilarious. Not just the guards, the crowd also harumphed coldly. They had paid the exorbitant sum and queued continuously for several days. Even so, they haven't been summoned. On the other hand, the 2 of them, without even paying up, wished to enter the mansion. What a joke. They are asking for a scolding. Oh. Observing clearly the contemptuous looks that the crowd shot them, Lu Xun and Wang Chao nearly spurted blood. The strong sense of humiliation caused their heads to feel faint. To avoid an awkward situation, they had intended to pay the 3 million visiting fee in private. Lu Xun had composed the name scroll earnestly with the expectation that even if the other party refuses to meet them, he would at least pay some consideration to their identities and keep quiet about the fee. In contrast, not only did the plump man reveal the matter, he even looked at them scornfully. Tears threatened to stream down Lu Xun and Wang Chao's faces. The heck! This time, they truly lost every shred of their dignity. If there were a hole in the ground, they definitely would have dived in instantly. You! Just as he was about to continue with some small talk to calm down the situation and restore his dignity, Wang Chao felt a grip on his arm. Lu Xun was pulling him away. My apologies, Butler Sunday. We were too rash today. We will be taking our leave. After which, he turned and left. That butler son is a tough nut to crack. He dares to say anything and everything. If they do not leave but continue bickering with him, not only will they simply get more infuriated, they would also be humiliated further. Those who are able to become star teachers are, by no means, fools. Upon seeing his good buddy turn around to leave, Wang Chao also recognized his concerns. Glaring hatefully at Sun Qiong, he turned around and left as well. Lu Xun, what do we do now? Upon leaving the crowd, they walked into a remote alley. Then, Wang Chao couldn't help but ask. Initially, they thought that submitting their name scrolls would help them impress the other party. As long as they were summoned in, they were confident that, with their knowledge, they would be able to impress Xianxia. However, never in their dreams did they expect that. Not only did the other party reject their entry, his butler even pointed out in public the fact that they didn't pay the entrance fee. The anger and dismay they felt sent them to the verge of insanity. What else can we do? We can only obtain the 3 million entrance fee and then enter with our heads held high. Lu Xun clenched his jaws. Only by meeting Xianxia can they display their abilities to win his favor. Since they can't even meet with the person in question, what is the purpose of arguing with the butler? 3 million? Where can we find such a sum? Wang Chao's face was as bitter as a bitter gourd. You know it as well. My relationship with that old man isn't good. Even if he has the money, he will never give it to me. Besides, how can I break it to him? Lu Xun shook his head. My old man could have taken out such a sum. But a few days ago, he learned an incredible spear art and paid several million as the tuition fee, so our clan is broke now. We might not be able to produce even 100,000 now. Wang Chao smiled bitterly. That father of his had been immersed in that spear art like a fool for the last few days, to the point that he was not even willing to spare time for this son of his. Besides, even if he really has the money, obtaining it from him would be unlikely to happen. Sigh, so what should we do now? The duo was troubled. Lu Xun, if it comes down to it, how about you try asking Emperor Xianxia for a loan? Didn't you grow up in the palace? It shouldn't be hard for you to borrow 3 million from him. Besides, it isn't too late to repay him the sum when you become an apprentice. Suddenly recalling something, Wang Chao proposed. Emperor Xianxia. Lu Xun rubbed between his brows for a moment before replying. All right. Chapter 183. Treating Shenhong. While Lu Xun and Wang Chao were thinking about how they could borrow 3 million to pay Xianxia visit, the person in question, Zhongxian, had his eyebrows deeply knitted together. Lu Xun's motive for paying a visit was clear to see. It didn't matter to Zhongxian whether he met the other party or not, and he didn't instruct Sun Qiong to make things difficult for him either. The both of them are merely embroiled in a teacher evaluation, and there really isn't any grudge to speak of. Thus, there was no need for Zhongxian to intentionally make things difficult for the other party. Besides, he doesn't have the leisure to be thinking about this at the moment, because a black-clothed man is standing before him. This person had entered through the back gates. Fully dressed in black, even the figure's face was concealed, making it impossible to identify the person. Initially, Zhongxian thought that the person was here to cause trouble. However, the moment he entered the main hall, he bowed immediately and removed the black cloth concealing his face. Emperor Xianxia, you. Upon making out the other party's appearance, Zhongxian was taken aback. He had thought that it was a burglar or a bandit. He had never fathomed that it would be Emperor Xianxia, whom he had just met yesterday. As the sovereign of the country, the entire kingdom belongs to him. Yet, instead of entering openly through the front door, he sneaked into the mansion dressed in black. Acting so secretively, what is he up to? Please pardon my intrusion. I am here to plead with Xianxia to save the royal elder. Upon noticing his questioning gaze, Emperor Xianxia quickly explained. Save your royal elder. Zhongxian was perplexed. Sneaking into the mansion dressed in black, it doesn't seem like saving someone, but trying to kill someone? Didn't I say that I will help you? Zhongxian frowned. In return for saving their royal elder, he had already stated his terms yesterday which the other party had agreed to. So, why did the fellow barge in like this? Could it be that this fellow found gathering Tongxian realm secret manuals a difficult task and had chosen to resort to force instead? When this thought flashed through his mind, Zhongxian was alarmed. To be able to become the sovereign of the country, Emperor Xianxia's fighting prowess has to be extraordinary. At the very least, it is likely that he has reached Tongxian realm pinnacle. Even though his own cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds recently, he nevertheless isn't a match for an expert of that level. However, Xianxia dismissed the thought as soon as it appeared. Putting aside the fact that the other party knows that he's a master teacher, he wouldn't dare to do so given that he is, in fact, pleading with him to save his royal elder. If he enters a rage and refuses to help or, instead, makes an intentional mistake during treatment, the royal elder might actually ascend to heaven earlier than expected. I acknowledge that it is inappropriate for me to have visited so abruptly today, and I should have gathered the Tongxian realm's secret manuals before inviting Xianxia over, but who knew that, yesterday, the royal elder's condition worsened all of a sudden. He might not even survive the day. Emperor Xianxia sensed the displeasure in the other party, and he hurriedly bowed down and explained, "Thus, I took the liberty to barge into Xianxia's mansion. I hope that Xianxia can make a trip to treat the royal elder. Might not even survive the day. Even if you want me to treat him, there shouldn't be any need for you to be dressed like this." Xianxia was speechless. You are a dignified sovereign, a Tongxian realm pinnacle expert. Even if your royal elder is on the verge of dying, you should need not dress in black and scale walls. It makes it seem that you are here to murder someone. It's fortunate that those guards aren't highly skilled. Otherwise, you could have died for no reason. The royal elder's health is the greatest secret of the entire kingdom, and it is imperative for it to remain confidential. Emperor Xianxia explained. It was because of the royal elder's presence that Xianxia Kingdom had been able to remain in peace for many years. There are already quite a few who know that the old ancestor's health had been deteriorating, and if Emperor Xianxia were to pay an open visit to Xianxia and the other powers find out, they would be able to guess the real reason. If Xianxia fails to treat him, their ambitions would definitely be ignited and they may take advantage of this opportunity to strike. At the same time, if Emperor Xianxia were to send someone else here in his stead, it would be disrespectful to Xianxia. He has no choice but to conceal his appearance and sneak over. As a Tongxian realm pinnacle expert, it wasn't a difficult task for him to hide from sight to creep in here. Having heard the other party's explanation, Xianxia came to understand the situation. All right, I'll follow you to take a look. Looks like this emperor has regarded him as the final straw of hope. However, it doesn't matter to Xianxia either way. If he were to save that royal elder, the emperor would definitely not dare to delay the matter regarding the Tongxian realm secret manuals. As long as he can obtain 1,000 books on Tongxian realm and create a compilation, his strength would surely soar. There are too many eyes outside. I might have to trouble Xianxia to leave through the back door with me. Upon hearing him agree to it, Emperor Xianxia's eyes gleamed in delight. But he continued immediately with an apologetic voice. It's no problem. Xianxia nodded his head. After calling Sun Qiong and informing him briefly, he secretly left the residence under the lead of Emperor Xianxia. Who? Two figures leaped across the skyline of Xianxian Royal City as though flying birds. If those who had yet to reach Dingli Realm were to look up, even if they were to focus all of their attention, they would only see two shadows flitting by. They are Xianxia and Xianxia, who are in a rush to the royal palace. As a Tongxian realm pinnacle expert who possesses remarkable movement techniques, Xianxia's movement was extraordinarily swift. However, when he glanced behind at Xianxia, who was following him, his confidence shattered immediately. En route, he had utilized over 12 movement techniques, and he had become so tired from running that he was about to collapse out of exhaustion. Yet, Xianxia continued to traverse with ease, without the slightest bit of urgency. His breathing was calm, as though this was a simple feat to him. Even though he was unable to exactly perceive the other party's prowess, from this itself, it was clear that the other party's Xianxia is much more vigorous. Furthermore, the other party's movement technique is far superior. They couldn't even be compared. With such powerful Xianxia and amazing movement technique, it is impossible that the other party is a weakling. It is no wonder the three master teachers were impressed with him. Without a doubt, his strength definitely surpasses Tongxian realm pinnacle. In fact, it isn't impossible for him to be a Xianxia realm expert. Upon thinking of this, Emperor Xianxia felt even greater respect for Xianxia. While Xianxia became increasingly fearful of the other party, in truth, Xianxia was feeling extremely dismal at the back. From the very start, this fellow had been dashing ahead with all of his might. If he fails to keep up, his identity might be exposed. Thus, he could only clench his jaws and try his best to stay close. He is only at Pishue realm pinnacle. Even though he has opened up all 108 acupoints and his strength is equivalent to a Tongxian realm intermediate stage cultivator, he is still a far cry from the top experts in the kingdom. It is fortunate that he had managed to learn Heaven's Path movement art a few days ago, allowing him to travel at greater speed. Otherwise, the other party would have disappeared from his sight right from the very start. Even so, there were a few times which he nearly got shaken off. Thus, he made use of the Library of Heaven's Path to look into the flaws of the other party's movement techniques and his habits, predicting his movement in advance and taking a shorter route, thus avoiding the fate of being left behind. It is fortunate that there are many flaws in his movement technique. Otherwise, if the other party really did manage to shake me off, I would have to give up on feigning as an expert. There are likely to be two reasons why the other party is traveling at such great speed. Firstly, the condition of the royal elder in the palace is grave. Secondly, Xianxia wants to test Xianxia's capabilities. If the other party is truly a formidable master teacher, his speed should be exceptional. If the other party fails to catch up with him, even if he doesn't point it out, then he would definitely be doubtful of the person's identity. It is precisely because of this that Zhong Xian felt dismal. What is this? The trip to the palace to save a person had suddenly become a race. He had to exert all of his strength just to keep up. If not for his image as an expert, he would have long sent a kick to the other party's face. Is he here to request for my help or to race with me? Furthermore, he had to keep up without displaying the slightest bit of fatigue. If not for the fact that he had broken through recently and that the Xianxia in his body had increased tremendously, he would have given himself away. The heck? It truly is difficult to pass off as an expert. This really isn't something a normal human can achieve. If Sun Qiong were to hear of his thoughts, he would definitely express his utmost agreement. It was precisely because of him trying to do the same that he nearly caused his own death. Until now, he remains traumatized by the event. Since I have already obtained the things that Zhao Ya and the others need, when I finally gather the Tongxian realm secret manuals, I will have this Yang Xian disappear. Zhong Xian made up his mind. Even though impersonating a master teacher had allowed him to receive enormous respect, it came with its fair share of trouble as well. If he were to be seen through, it would already be considered letting him off easily if he were to be pummeled to death. Now, it appears to be a wise decision to have master teacher Yang Xian disappear the instant he receives the Tongxian realm secret manuals. Without any rest, in 10 minutes or so, they reached the royal palace. It seems that proper instructions had been given, and there were no hindrances at any point. Soon, they arrived at a large hall. Right in here. Emperor Xianxia pushed open the door and walked in. Inside the hall, Liu Shu, Zhuangshu, and Xianxia were present. Creases had formed on their eyebrows as they stared helplessly at the royal elder lying nearby. The stabilizing pillar of Qianxian Kingdom, Shunhong. A few days ago, this white-haired elder was still able to walk independently. But now, he can only lie on the bed and gasp for air. It seems that he may die at any moment. Xianxia. As they entered, Liu Ling and the others immediately stepped forward to welcome Xianxia. After the previous encounter, they understood that it is likely that Xianxia is a higher-tier master teacher, and as such, they did not dare to act arrogantly in the slightest before him. I plead of Xianxia to save the royal elder. Emperor Xianxia turned to look at Zhong Xian anxiously. If I can save him, I will do so. Zhong Xian replied before walking forward to the elder. The death aura that engulfs Shunhong is much heavier in comparison to that on apothecary Chen Xiao previously. He can only lie still on the bed. If not for his moving eyeballs, one would have thought that he had already passed away. It is no wonder that Emperor Xianxia specially rushed to look for him. Based on Shunhong's current condition, it is hard to say whether he can live past today. Having walked a circle around Shunhong, Zhong Xian still couldn't identify the problem. Thus, he could only place his fingers to feel the other party's pulse. UN. The Library of Heaven's Path remained reactionless. It wasn't that he had grabbed the wrong hand, but Shunhong isn't in a coma. His eyeballs are still moving, and he is still conscious. It wouldn't be realistic to have him execute a punching routine now, Zhongxian's face darkened. Given that fellow's current condition, it is already a blessing that Shenhong can keep his eyes open. If he were to really push himself to execute a punching routine, he might really die before Zhongxian can do anything. Xianxia, is there a method to treat him? Upon seeing him frown, Emperor Shenzui could not help but ask anxiously. This is already his final straw of hope. If Xianxia is unable to come up with a solution, he can only watch as the royal elder breathes his last. This. Zhongxian scratched his head. He can't possibly mention that he couldn't discern anything about the other party. Having the conscious execute a punching routine and touching the unconscious, he had tried the two methods and successfully compiled books in the library through such. But how can he deal with those in such a semi-conscious state? He can't have him execute a punching routine, and touching him is ineffective. Why don't you pass out for a moment? You are obviously having trouble holding onto your consciousness. What are you doing not passing out? Cough cough. After a moment of hesitation, Zhongxian lifted his head and asked, is there any object here which can knock him unconscious without killing him? Chapter 184, Poison Master, knock him unconscious without killing him. Emperor Shenzui, Liu Ling, and Zheng Fei stared at one another as question marks popped above their heads. Isn't he here to save the royal elder? Why do you need something to knock him unconscious? Don't people usually infuse Xianxia, feed medicine, or apply acupuncture and such to save others? Does knocking someone out help too? The corner of Zhuangxian's mouth twitched. He felt a tightening sensation at his backside and a constipated sensation overwhelmed him. Even though he had consumed numerous medicine, his face remained swollen. His body was still aching from the beating that he suffered that day. Even though the other party had helped him achieve a breakthrough, and he is genuinely grateful to the other party for that. Aren't his methods way too unorthodox? There are set procedures which typical master teachers follow when helping others to achieve a breakthrough of their current cultivation realm. In fact, it had even a model. Yet, this fellow simply went ahead to blindfold him and beat him up. Even until now, he has yet to recover from the trauma of that incident. Of course, he understood that his condition is unique and thus, it was within reason that he had to resort to such extreme means. However, why does he have to knock the dying Shenhong unconscious to save him? Could it be another inconceivable treatment method? There's a type of powder which can knock one unconscious with just a single whiff. After hesitating for a moment, Emperor Shenzui said, all kinds of medicine can be found in the royal palace. It isn't difficult to find one that can knock a person unconscious without killing him. Good, bring it over. Zhongxian's eyes lit up as he instructed. Soon, a eunuch brought a jade bottle over. Opening the jade bottle, he saw that it was filled with white-colored powder. Good. Nodding his head in satisfaction, Zhongxian took the bottle and walked up to Shenhong. Under perplexed gazes, Xianxia walked up to the royal elder who was gasping for air and said with confidence, breathe it in. Come on, breathe it in. Putong. Everyone nearly fainted. They were puzzled over why he required the medicine, but upon hearing his words, they nearly choked to death on their own saliva. When saving someone, one usually feeds tonic and spiritual essence. Yet, you feed him sedatives. Are you sure you aren't here to murder him? While everyone had entered a frenzy, the royal family's royal elder struggled to shake his head, his face full of fear. If not for the fact that he was immobile, he might have leaped up and fled the scene. At the peak of his health, breathing this in would place great stress on his body. Now that he is on the verge of death, if he were to take a whiff, he might just fall dead. Do you think that I am not dying quickly enough? That you want to give me a helping hand? With his heart full of panic, he turned to look at Emperor Shenzui. Weren't you going to invite master teachers over so that I can achieve a breakthrough and extend my longevity? Why is the person you brought trying to get me to breathe in sedatives? What are you doing? This is way too much. Cough cough, Xianxia. The old ancestor's body is extremely frail now. I'm afraid that, if he were to inhale it, his body might be unable to handle it. Upon noticing the doubtful gaze his royal elder shot him, Emperor Shenzui's mouth twitched and he hurried forward to stop him. When he witnessed Xianxia's bizarre methods the day before, He thought that it would be limited to helping others achieve a breakthrough. To think that even his treatment method would be so incredulous. The royal elder had already expended great willpower to hold on in wait of your arrival. If he were to really breathe it in, even if he doesn't die, he wouldn't be too far from it. Unable to handle it. Xianxia stopped. The other party's words made sense. The fellow looks as though he would die at any moment. He had been depending on his will to survive. If he were to really fall unconscious and the drive holding him here disappears, he may just die on the spot. So now, I can't knock him unconscious, and neither can I have him execute a battle technique. What should I do? Xianxia was at a loss. He thought that by using the Library of Heaven's Path, he would be able to easily see the root of his illness. Even if he couldn't save him, he could discuss it to prove his expertise. But look at the situation, the other party just has to be in such a state, rendering him completely helpless. Then, is there anything that can temporarily boost his vitality, such that he will not die even if he were to be knocked unconscious? After hesitating for a moment, Xianxia asked. Since the other party is on the verge of death, using sedative is out of the question. Thus, he can only find a way to temporarily boost the other party's vitality so that he wouldn't die when he is knocked unconscious. Wouldn't die even if he were to be knocked unconscious. The others stared at one another. This Xianxia is truly determined to knock Royal Elder Shenhong unconscious. Liu Shi, is there anything among the master-teacher diagnosis methods that require a person to be knocked unconscious? Xianxia secretly sent a telepathic message over. There are many methods for a master-teacher to diagnose a person's condition. Just like how a physician diagnoses a patient, through these methods, a master-teacher can understand the exact condition of the person and point out the very core of his issue. The expert before them has practices simply too bizarre. Even as master-teachers, they are unable to comprehend the logic behind his actions. Usually, the person has to be conscious to be diagnosed. Unconscious. I really have no idea at all. Liu Ling shook his head. He is knowledgeable and had toured many different kingdoms. He had seen people using all kinds of means to wake an unconscious person to diagnose him, but he had never come across knocking a person unconscious to diagnose him. An unconscious person is not much different from a corpse. How can one identify his problem like that? The few master teachers were baffled. Emperor Shenzui was also bewildered. After hesitating for a moment, he said, the royal elder has already consumed all kinds of tonics that might possibly extend his longevity and boost his vitality. Just that these medicines are mostly ineffective now. Shenhong had the backing of the entire kingdom. In order to extend his longevity, he had ingested all kinds of medicine and his body had already developed an immunity to medicinal effects. Even if he were to be fed with more medicine now, it is unlikely that it would be effective. Hearing the other party's words, Xianxia felt dismal. Initially, he thought that once the old ancestor is fed with some medicine, he would regain sufficient vitality to execute a battle technique. Yet, this fellow turned out to be a drug junkie, and medicine is ineffective on him. The hell, am I really going to fail this time? I do know of one item that can boost a person's vitality for a short period of time. It works just like the medicine that Emperor Shenzui mentioned after consumption. It grants a weak person temporary strength and spirit. Furthermore, it has minimal side effects. However, Liu Ling had contemplated for some time before speaking. But speaking to this point, he hesitated all of a sudden. But what? Xianxia turned to take a look. However, it isn't a tonic but a poison. Liu Ling said. Poison. Xianxia was confused. Doesn't poison usually harm others? How would consuming poison boost a person's vitality, and not to mention, cause minimal side effects? Not just him, even Emperor Shenzui was puzzled by his words. He immediately turned to look at Liu Ling with a strange expression. Everyone knows that poison masters are of the lower 9 paths. They often concoct poison to secretly harm others. Their despicable means brought them despise. Even so, given how the profession had been passed down throughout the ages, it shows that there is value to its existence. Zheng Fei said. All professions that are passed down are surely useful in some ways. Even though poison masters possess poor reputation, they aren't entirely scourges of the human society. They are also useful in their own ways. For example, if a person wants to get rid of pest or avoid miasma, they would require the help of such a person. Indeed, I've heard of the substance as well. From what I know, it is concocted using more than a dozen venomous substances in a specific ratio. Just like pill forging, it is incredibly difficult to concoct. The various ingredients would need to be mixed in a specific manner in a specific ratio such that they would complement one another and form a perfect balance. In that case, not only would it not be detrimental to one's health, it can even stimulate a person's latent potential and induce the recovery of their vitality for a short period of time. Xianxia seemed to have thought of it as well, and he nodded his head in agreement. After which, he turned over to look at Xianxia with a confused expression. Even though Poison Master is an extremely remote profession, this item is extremely common in first-tier kingdoms. Xianxia, you don't know about it. Not just him, even Liu Ling and Zheng Fei were extremely puzzled. A master teacher has to be knowledgeable about the occupations of the upper, middle, and lower 9 paths, as well as their skills. During the examination to become a 1-star master teacher, one has to answer questions on the topic in detail. As such, there isn't a single master teacher who doesn't know of this. The person before them is able to offer them pointers, revealing that he is obviously an extremely high-tier master teacher. Yet, how can he be ignorant of poison masters and the medicine they concoct? In fact, it seemed as if it is his first time hearing of it. I don't like poison masters as an occupation, so I didn't study much of it. Looking at the doubtful gazes the others were shooting him, Zhongxian felt slightly awkward. Possessing the library of Heaven's Path, it is no problem for him to offer pointers. However, when it comes to common knowledge, it is easy for Zhongxian to give himself away. As a master teacher, one must have an incredible discerning ability to identify the root of a problem. In order for one to possess such perceptive eyes, one has to have a wide range of knowledge. Without having a wide range of knowledge as a foundation, how can a master teacher recognize the crux of a problem in a single look and offer guidance? And what Zhongxian lacks is this accumulation of knowledge. He is able to hoodwink people through the use of the library, but his ignorance shows through readily when met with this kind of general knowledge questions. You don't like it? Didn't study much of it? The frown on Liu Ling and the others' faces deepened. As long as one had been to a first-tier kingdom, even the deaf and blind would be aware, needless to say, a high-tiered master teacher. Besides, a master teacher should be open to everything. They had never heard of one refusing to study a subject just because he hated the occupation. Those are obviously words of an outsider. If not for the fact that the other party had offered them pointers, and had showcased his incomparably vast knowledge in the field of cultivation, they would have suspected that he is an imposter. Do any of you have the medicine? Judging from the faces of the crowd, Zhongxian realized that he must have mentioned something inappropriate. Fortunately, he was born thick-skinned and this allowed him to remain composed. He changed the topic immediately. This medicine has to be concocted by a poison master on the spot as it cannot be stored. Otherwise, changes would occur within the medicine, resulting in the balance between the various venomous substances to be destroyed, causing it to become a deadly poison. How can we possibly have such a thing? Liu Ling nodded his head. The doubt in his eyes deepened. This Xianxia is way too amateur. It is impossible for a master teacher to ask such a question. The same thought also sprouted in Zhuangxian and Zheng Fei's minds. In that instant, they once again began to doubt Xianxia's identity as a master teacher. Is that so? Knowing that the other party was already suspicious, Zhongxian knew that he shouldn't linger further on the topic. He immediately turned to Emperor Shenzui and said, "Since that's the case, then I would have to bother your majesty to find a poison master to concoct it." At this, he paused for a moment. Then, ignoring the gazes that the others cast, he spoke with a majesty unique to master teachers. "I need this medicine to save your royal elder." This time, it wasn't just the 3 master teachers, even Emperor Shenzui was perplexed by Zhongxian's demand. Our Xianxia kingdom is a remote country which doesn't even rank into the tiers. As such, we do not have any poison masters in our lands. Xianxia, it can't be that you are not aware of it. You don't have poison masters here. Gudding, Xianxia's heart skipped a beat. Chapter 185. I'll learn for a bit. He didn't think that after feigning as a master teacher for so long, such that everyone had already believed him to be real, that he would stumble on the lack of trivial knowledge. If he knew that there aren't any poison masters in Xianxia Kingdom, he would have never said such words. Even though there are books on poison in the kingdom's book collection vault, they are more for record purposes. They are fundamental books on the uses of poisons, just like the elementary books in the Apothecary Guild's basic tier book collection vault. Advanced concepts for poison masters are not covered. Thus, Xianxia was ignorant of such facts. It is no wonder that Liu Ling and the others are growing doubtful of him. He doesn't even possess basic knowledge that even commoners are aware of. Even though he felt dismal at giving himself away, Xianxia knows that the dice has been cast, and it is too late to regret now. If he were to say that he can't treat the old ancestor, the others would definitely think that he's an impersonation. Probably, before Emperor Xianxia can make a move himself, the master teachers would have already made mincemeat out of him. Even so, Xianxia did not panic. He lifted his head slightly and a faraway look appeared in his eyes. It seemed as though he was reminiscing the past, and that many different memories and emotions, be it sweet or bitter, had been dredged up. I have neglected this fact. I thought that I am where I had stayed a few years ago. From an outsider's perspective, one would think that he had truly forgotten that he is in Xianxia Kingdom, and he had truly misspoken. Oh. Upon seeing his expression, question marks appeared above Liu Ling and the others. Since there were poison masters in his previous place of dwelling, it means that the kingdom he had resided in is, at the minimum, first tier. However, they had been to nearby first-tier kingdoms, but have never heard of the name Xianxia. Do you know how to concoct this medicine? If so, it would be best if you can make one now. I require it urgently to save a life. Seeing that he had managed to divert their attention, Xianxia heaved a sigh of relief. Facing Shenhong, who is a single foot into his grave, he truly is stumped. He can only find a way to induce a temporary recovery of the other party and have him execute a battle technique. Otherwise, if things were to drag on, he might just die before a remedy can be found. Make one now. Liu Ling shook his head. Seems like Xianxia really doesn't know much about poison masters. Honestly speaking, the formula for the medicine is simple. It contains only 10 types of venoms, and I can recite them by heart. However, to achieve a balance among the 10 venoms such that there isn't any side effect and heighten a person's vitality, one has to be an extremely skilled poison master. Thus, it is useless even though I know the recipe. Concocting poison is similar to how an apothecary forges a pill. Regardless of skill or the amount of herb used, the slightest mistake can result in a vast difference from the intended effects. This is precisely the reason why even though the reputation of poison masters are terrible, they remain a highly feared existence. In fact, there are many powers who specially hire them to deal with matters which are not convenient for them to directly interfere in. You can't concoct it even though you know the recipe. Xianxia glanced at him. How about this? You write down the formula first so that we can bring the ingredients required for the concoction. Since Xianxia insists, I will follow your wishes. Liu Ling said no more. After getting someone to bring paper and brush, he quickly wrote down the ingredients. Xianxia glanced at the recipe. Monothorn grass, demise flower, venomous extract from a white bamboo snake, blood from a black toad. There are 10 ingredients in total, and each of them is extremely venomous. Any single one of them is more than sufficient to poison a Tongxian realm expert to death in an instant. However, when the 10 of them are mixed together in a unique ratio, it can become an incredible tonic. The methods of a poison master are indeed incredible. Even if an ingredient on the list isn't present in the royal palace, it wasn't too difficult to search for it. Not too long later, all of the required ingredients were placed before Xianxia. Every single ingredient was deeply colored and the sight induced fear. What is the use of having found these ingredients? Without a poison master to concoct the mixture, they are just venomous substances that are useless in saving lives. Doubtful, Zheng Fei commented. Finding these ingredients had squandered them quite a bit of time. Shenhong, at this moment, is on the verge of collapsing. Xianxia was invited over to see if he can help Shen Hong achieve a breakthrough to extend his longevity. So why is he bothering about such matters? Isn't it a waste of time? Indeed, Shen Hong's condition is indeed troublesome. We should be putting our heads to think of a solution instead. Even though recovering Shen Hong's vitality might help, we don't have anyone capable of concocting the medicine now. Even Xianxia could not stand watching on. He is indebted in Xianxia and shouldn't have doubted the other party's intention. However, from his perspective, what the other party was doing seemed to be meaningless. The most urgent matter at hand is to help Shen Hong achieve a breakthrough, not to bother about this. You already said it, the medicine is useful. If so, we just have to concoct it. In any case, we know what ingredients are required, so it doesn't matter if we have a poison master here. Even without a poison master here, we will save him. Interrupting the other person's words, Zhongxian smiled. But we don't understand the nature of these venoms. Xianxia panicked. If a mistake occurs, the subject will be poisoned to death immediately. If that happens, it will be impossible to make amends. All right, if we don't know, we can learn. If we can't concoct it, we can give it a try. There's no need to make such a big fuss. Zhongxian waved his hands nonchalantly. Learn. Try. Emperor Shenzui, Liu Ling, and the others staggered simultaneously. They nearly fainted on the spot. Brother, you don't even know who a poison master is. How in the world are you going to learn about poison? Such last-minute mugging. There has to be a better solution. Every single occupation requires one to receive guidance from a teacher. Only after several years of dedicated research and learning can one have accomplishments in the field. Yet, you speak of learning it now? Learn your head. Don't joke around. Even though the poison master is a lower 9 paths occupation, it doesn't mean that it is easy to comprehend. Rather, it was due to its poor reputation that it fell from prestige. In fact, the difficulty of becoming a poison master is in no way easier than that of becoming an apothecary. After all, one needs to have an in-depth knowledge of the property of the various poisons. Otherwise, one wouldn't be concocting medicine but committing suicide. Thus, every single poison master has to go through countless years of effort before finally becoming certified. Yet, you say that you want to learn now. By the time you are done, Shen Hong's flesh would have withered. By then, there's no one here for you to save. The others felt the world spinning around them. On the other hand, Shen Hong, who was lying on the bed, was on the verge of tears. The heck, how did I offend you? I just want to live for a few more years to protect Xianxia Kingdom. First, you want to knock me out. Now, you want to poison me to death. At most, I'll just die right now, so spare me, will you? I beg of you, stop torturing me. Xianxia, tinkering with poison isn't child's play. It's best not to toy around with them. Liu Ling could no longer hold himself back and immediately tried to persuade Xianxia otherwise. If you don't have a solution for Shen Hong's problem, at most, you can just admit that you are helpless. What are you trying by playing with sedatives and poison? Do you think that poison can be concocted that easily? If it were that easy, poison masters wouldn't be such a feared existences. I know that it isn't child's play, so give me a moment. I'll study for a bit first. Zhongxian nodded his head seriously. Study, for a bit first. Your head. The 3 master teachers nearly fainted. Fine, we'll see how you study then. Liu Ling flung his robe furiously. Initially, he thought that given Xianxia is a knowledgeable person. Even though his means are inconceivable, his ability to perceive the crux of the problem is astonishing. But now, it seems that he is merely an extremely random person, such that he is even trying to learn about concocting poison now. The heck? If you are that incredible, why don't you ascend to the heavens? I have seen numerous master teachers, and have even met a 3-star. However, I've never heard of anyone being able to grasp an occupation from scratch in a short period of time. HMPH. Just like Liu Shi, even though Zheng Fei did not say anything, his complexion was awful. Clearly, he was dissatisfied with Zhongxian's actions. Who are poison masters? Even among the 9 paths, It is an extremely famous occupation. If one can become one that easily, it would be worthless. Didn't he say that he is going to learn about poison now? What is he trying to do? The three master teachers were furious. By the side, Emperor Xianxia also glanced at Xianxia speechlessly. However, when he shot his gaze over, he was immediately confounded by the sight before him. Didn't Xianxia say that he is going to learn about poison? Then why is he standing rooted to the spot with his eyes closed? Brother, if you truly want to learn about poison, you should find a few books and flip through them. Or at the very least, you should at least ask about it. What do you hope to achieve by standing there with your eyes closed? Please at least show some respect for poison masters. What in the world are you up to? Liu Shi, look. Zhuangxian also noticed the strange situation and he muttered, sleeping. This. Liu Ling and Zheng Fei stared at one another and blinked their eyes. At this moment, they were just a push away from ripping their hair out. Xianxia, can you tell us what you're up to? Didn't you say that you want to learn how to concoct poison? Standing motionless on the spot, not even sparing a glance at the venomous substances on the table. More importantly, your eyes are shut. Hell, what are you up to? I've seen eccentric people, but I've never seen such an eccentric one. The three master teachers felt that their heads were about to explode from frustration. Chapter 186. Concocting poison. Of course, Zhongxian wasn't merely putting on a show. He had flipped through several thousand books regarding poison in the kingdom's book collection vault. Even though they are all elementary and insufficient for one to become an official poison master, even if one read through all of them, it is sufficient for him at the current moment. His current motive isn't to become a poison master. He just wants to look for a way to achieve a perfect balance among these 10 ingredients to create a safe medicinal solution and restore Shen Hong's vitality. He doesn't have to become as skilled as a poison master to concoct the remedy. It is just like how becoming an official apothecary is troublesome, but an apprentice can still easily concoct medicinal paste. Hualala. With a jolt of his mind, he flipped through all of the books he had read in the kingdom's book collection vault regarding poison. Correct. Focusing all of his attention, the correct portions of the books soon formed a complete manual before him. Zhongxian gently flipped it open. Poison can kill, but it can save lives as well. If one masters the art of poison, it might even be possible for one to bring back the dead. The book was filled with words. Zhongxian knew that that was the correct content extracted from the other books by the Library of Heaven's Path. He started reading without hesitation. With a single glance, Zhongxian was impressed. It is just like Liu Ling and the others had said. This occupation is vast and profound. It isn't something one can comprehend in mere days. However, with the Library of Heaven's Path compiling an absolutely correct manual, Zhongxian would be able to arrive at the very core of every single principle. As such, he is able to learn swiftly. Flipping through the various books in his head, his understanding of Poison Master as an occupation, as well as the nature of poisons, gradually deepened. Unknowingly, he reached the final page. Zhongxian felt a shudder going through his entire body. He immediately assimilated all of the knowledge he had just learned for himself, and it formed a part of his working memory. Even though he didn't become a poison master, as he had expected, his understanding toward venomous substances had deepened significantly. What is this? Having gained a deep understanding of poisons, Zhongxian suddenly noticed a faint black aura hidden in the depths of his body. When did I sustain this? In the past, due to his ignorance, even if he had noticed, he wouldn't have thought much of it. However, now that he had learned the basics, he recognized it to be poison. Just that. He couldn't recall when he was afflicted with it. Furthermore, if it had been lingering in his body all along, why is he still fine? Royal Elder. Royal Elder. Just as Zhongxian wanted to look deeper to see what it is and whether it would have any adverse effect on him, Emperor Xianxui's panicked exclamations sounded by his ear. Realizing that this isn't the right time to do so, Zhongxian opened his eyes and glanced forward. He saw old ancestor Shen Hong, who had been struggling to gasp for air, on the verge of closing his eyes. It seems that he may die at any moment now. Using the analogy of an oil lamp, if the flame was weak before, The wind is now blowing and the flame might be extinguished at this very moment. Even if Shen Hong tries his best to persevere, it is unlikely that he will be able to survive more than a few minutes. Sigh. Death ultimately comes to all. Emperor Shenzui, please do not grieve too much. Please pardon our helplessness. Liu Ling and the rest recognized Shen Hong's worsening state and shook their heads in unity. At present, he is no different from a corpse. As one-star master teachers, they do not have any solutions. Even if they do manage to think of one now, it would be too late to help. Indignance reflected in Emperor Shenzui's eyes. He had spent a great sum to invite the 3 master teachers, only to be told that they are powerless on the matter. Just as he decided that there isn't any hope, Xianxia suddenly appeared. He had thought of him as his final straw of hope, but in the end, it turns out that he is even more unreliable than the 3. It is one thing for him to not save him, but at such a crucial period, he tries to tinker with sedatives and poisons. I invited you to save him, not to experiment with him. The more he thought about it, the more furious he became. He turned to look at the motionless fellow to see what he had to say about the matter, only to see that his eyes had opened. Xianxia, my old ancestor is unable to hold on any longer. If you don't save him now, it'll be too late. Emperor Shenzui suppressed the anger he felt and spat through gritted teeth. I'll first concoct the medicine, Zhongxian said. With a single glance, even he could tell that if he doesn't come up with anything soon, Shen Hong will most probably die within 10 minutes. The only thing he can do now is to concoct the medicine and hope that it is of use. Concoct the medicine. After hearing those words, Emperor Shen Hong can no longer hold back his anger. Xianxia, my old ancestor's life is hanging by the thread. I didn't invite you over to experiment concocting the medicine of a poison master. Oh. Zhongxian turned to look at him. You mean that? Xianxia, if you have other solutions, please do so. If you are able to treat my old ancestor, the Qianxian kingdom is willing to offer anything to you. Emperor Shenzui said. Aren't I doing so now? When the medicine is done, feed it to your old ancestor. After he regains some of his vitality, I will find a solution for his problem. Ignoring the other party's rage, Zhongxian replied impassively. After hearing those words, Emperor Shenzui nearly spurted a mouthful of blood. Didn't you hear what I said? The meaning behind my words should be clear. Since you don't possess the skills of a poison master, don't try to concoct medicine out of poisons. You should try to think of a way to save the person instead. In the end, my words fell on deaf ears. Actually, what that he didn't know was that Zhongxian had no better alternatives at that moment. In his present state, Shen Hong will die at any moment even if Zhongxian does nothing at all. Even though if he tries to do something, Shen Hong might still die. The best solution at the moment is to concoct the medicine and have him recover some vitality so that the library can compile a book on him. Other than this, Zhongxian has no better solution. Seeing that the fellow was still persisting on concocting his medicine, the 3 master teachers were infuriated. Emperor Shenzui, allow Xianxia to concoct the medicine. Suppressing his displeasure, Liu Ling flung his robe. If not for a fear of the other party's fighting prowess, he would have long made a move on him. You don't even know who poison masters are, yet you intend to concoct a medicine out of poison. Do you think that poison masters are a joke? Arrogant. It is truly a wonder how you became a master teacher. Or perhaps, you aren't a master teacher at all. You just happen to be lucky when helping Zhuangxian to achieve a breakthrough in his realm. Zhongxian could sense the displeasure in the other party's voice, but he couldn't be bothered with it at the moment. Shen Hong was about to die, and he had no time to waste. Walking over to the venomous ingredients, he poured one of the liquids into an empty bottle. Playing a fool. Even though Liu Ling isn't a poison master, he had seen them concoct poison and thus, he knew of the typical sequences and methods. Even a 10th or 100th of these venomous substances, when consumed by accident, will cause one to die on the spot. They are all fearsome substances. That is the reason why one requires specialized equipment when concocting to ensure a precise quantity. Yet, without using any equipment at all, you simply pour the substances from bottle to bottle. Aren't you being too casual? Do you know how much of the substance you have poured from the bottles? Do you know the correct ratio between the various ingredients? Just a single droplet of error can cause a person's death. That's also the reason why poison masters are exceptionally cautious whenever they concoct, fearing that there might be the slightest bit of error. Yet, you dare to pour these poisons around randomly. The heck? If one were to try becoming a poison master with such an attitude, before succeeding, he would have long poisoned himself to death. Do you regard that as having learned the subject? Even a craftsman found off the streets would be much more precise than you. When a poison master concocts a formula, he needs to allow the first two ingredients to react before putting the third in, just like how an apothecary's pill forging worked. There are specific sequences and timings to place the substances in. Even the slightest error will not be tolerated. Yet, to be pouring those poison around casually. Xianxia commented angrily. You insist on concocting that poison of yours instead of saving Shenhong. Fine, we'll tolerate it. However, there is an intricate and profound relationship between the various poisons. One has to mediate between the various changes in the poisons, and to do so, he has to follow a specific sequence and timing. Yet, you are randomly filling the bottle as though pouring wine. It is impossible for you to have concocted anything good this way. Just by coming into contact with a single drop, Shenhong will probably die on the spot, not to mention, drink it. Ignoring the commotion between the master teachers, Xianxia focused all of his attention into concocting the medicine, and his movements were fast. Don't you see that he is already dying? If he were to do it as the master teachers had said, using measurement equipment and waiting for the poison to react with one another, the other party would have already died by the time he is done. Of course, he wasn't mixing the poisons together randomly as the other party had perceived him to be doing. The book in the library in his mind was continuously refreshed as he poured the different liquids together. If the flaws were to decrease along with his movements, that meant that his actions must be correct. In less than 10 breaths, the 10 types of venomous ingredients had been mixed together. Touching the jade bottle, the content in the book was refreshed once again. 10 venom medicinal solution, concocted by Xianxia. Upon consumption, one regains vitality and reverts to their healthy state for an incense's time. Flaws. 12 aspects. Number 1. The consumer doesn't regain his cultivation. Number 2. The duration of the recovery is too short. The name and effects of the liquid Xianxia just concocted was written on the cover of the book. I've succeeded. Xianxia's eyes lit up. Even though he had been using the library to observe the state of the poison constantly, if not for the 1,000 books he had studied prior to that, which provided him with basic knowledge of the properties of the various poisons, he would have been at a loss to how he should react to the flaws that appeared within the book. If he were to have truly added the various venoms together randomly, even if he had half a month, he wouldn't have been able to concoct the medicinal solution. Upon successfully completing the concoction, Xianxia heaved a sigh of relief. I've succeeded. Picking the jade bottle up, he looked at the crowd. You've succeeded. Everyone's lips twitched. After pouring the liquids together randomly, you say that you've succeeded? In your own opinion, that is. Quick, feed it to him. Ignoring the bizarre gazes everyone else shot him, Xianxia handed the concoction to Emperor Xianxia hurriedly. Feed it to him. Emperor Xianxia shook his head. It's not certain whether the concoction is toxic or not. There's no time. Hurry up and feed it to him, otherwise, he will really die. Knowing that the other party wouldn't believe him even if he were to explain, Xianxia frowned. But Emperor Xianxia was hesitant. Why? You don't believe that this medicinal fluid can help him regain his vitality? Xianxia asked. Even though Xianxia didn't appear to be angry, there was some kind of mystical strength to his words that gave it authority. After having feigned as a master teacher for numerous days, his actions and words had started to exude an aura of superiority. Emperor Xianxia did not know how he should reply to his words. It's not that he had doubts, but that he didn't even trust him. I saw you mixing the 10 poisons together randomly with my own eyes. Yet, you ask me to believe you. You must be joking. Besides, how can I feed the royal elder with this unverified solution? What if he dies immediately after I feed him that? If you don't believe me, then let's forget it. I've already given you the chance, and the choice is up to you. Seeing the other party hesitating, Xianxia chose not to speak excessively. He placed the medicinal solution he concocted on the table, his face carrying an impassive expression. However, you should consider the matter properly. Your royal elder will not survive for more than 3 minutes if you can't think of any other solutions. 3 minutes of his life for an opportunity to extend his longevity. The choice is up to you. This. Emperor Xianxia clenched his fist tightly. Chapter 187. Tons of nonsense. He doesn't even have the slightest bit of confidence in the medicinal solution that Xianxia concocted. However, it is just like the other party had said. If they can't find any other solution, this royal elder of his will not survive past 3 minutes. Since he is going to die anyway, might as well give it a try. In any case, this Xianxia had managed to treat Ling Qianyu's wife, Du Muxuan, and the others. Even though his means and actions so far appear unreliable and incomprehensible, this is the best chance he has. After 10 breaths, he gritted his teeth and said, "Fine, I'll give it a try. There is no choice but to give it a shot. There isn't a better solution." After making his decision, Emperor Xianxia clenched his jaws, grabbed the jade bottle from the table, and approached the royal elder. "Royal elder, pardon me for my impudence." After using a spoon to pry open his mouth, he poured the medicinal solution in. Woo! Even though royal elder Xianxia was on the verge of dying, he was still conscious. Having the medicinal solution forcefully poured into his mouth, he nearly cried. He had seen everything that had happened with his own eyes. Xianxia's actions had sent chills down his spine. He is the royal elder of Xianxia Kingdom, an expert who is even more respected than the king himself. Yet, to be feeding him a medicine that can potentially be toxic without first testing it. It is as though they are treating him as a pill sample beast. Furthermore, it is the kind of experiment where he will die immediately if there is the tiniest bit of error. Why is my life so tough? All I want is to live peacefully and die peacefully. Is that hard to achieve? Very quickly, Emperor Xianxia completed the task of forcing the entire bottle of solution into royal elder Xianxia's mouth. Cough, cough, cough. Xianxia's eyes flipped, and after a few moments of struggle, he stopped moving. Royal elder. Emperor Xianxia's face paled. He staggered backward and roared in agony. Is it a failure? Not only is the royal elder the stabilizing pillar of Xianxia Kingdom, he is also a close blood-related kin to Xianxia. Even though he addresses Xianxia as his royal elder, he is actually the emperor from 2 generations ago, Xianxia's own grandfather. For his own grandfather to have died before him, not to mention being the one responsible for the fatal act of having fed him the medicine, the agony he felt was indescribable. If the medicine can indeed be concocted that easily, then poison masters would be worthless. Liu Ling shook his head. Turning to Xianxia, he said, "Xianxia, even though Xianxia would have died even if he didn't consume the medicine, it is a fact that he died from taking your medicine. So, it isn't wrong to say that you killed him." Killed him? That's right. You were the one who concocted the medicine, and it was under your orders that the medicine was fed to him. Now that he has died, who else can the responsibility belong to other than your? Liu Ling stared at him with piercing eyes. Xianxia, weren't you confident in your medicine? Emperor Xianxia questioned angrily. It was under your orders that I fed your medicine to my royal elder. Now, look at what has happened. My responsibility. Indeed. Xianxia is the stabilizing pillar of Xianxia Kingdom, and now that he has died from your medicine, you should make up for it by taking on his role. Actually, he also knew clearly that Xianxia would have died regardless of whether the medicine was fed to him. The reason why he intentionally said such words was for this. Xianxia's greatest purpose in the kingdom was to deter aggressors and revolutionaries. If Xianxia were to agree to take his place, his presence would definitely provide a much greater deterrence than Xianxia. In fact, Xianxia Kingdom might become a second-tier kingdom or even a first-tier kingdom due to his presence taking on his role. Xianxia shook his head. No way. He intends to destroy the identity once he receives the Tongxian realm secret manuals from Emperor Shunzui. To serve as the stabilizing pillar? What a joke. Impossible. Does Xianxia not feel the slightest bit of regret in failing to save Shenhong and instead causing his death? Liu Yang raised his eyebrows. Causing his death? You're imagining things. Zhong Xian chuckled. Rest easy, how can he die that easily in my presence? After which, he walked over to the motionless royal elder Shenhong and sent a slap to his face. Pah! The slap was resounding. Cough, cough, cough. After which, the sound of coughs echoed in the room. Shenhong, who had become motionless moments earlier, spat out a mouthful of medicinal solution and opened his eyes slowly. This. Everyone was stupefied. Liu Ling, Zheng Fei, and the others, who were about to reprimand Xianxia for his disrespectful actions, nearly had their eyes drop to the ground. They thought that their eyes were playing tricks on them. Royal Elder, you. Emperor Shunzui walked forward with an incredulous expression. He did not understand what was happening before him. You unfilial fellow, do you wish to choke me to death? Cough, cough. Shenhong's furious words echoed in the entire room. At this moment, he doesn't look as though a person who was on the verge of death. Xianxia, what's going on? Emperor Shunzui hurriedly looked over. He had clearly seen the royal elder fall motionless. Why did he suddenly wake up and is even able to speak? What is going on? He wasn't the only one who found the entire situation unbelievable. Liu Ling, Zhuangxian, and Zheng Fei felt the knowledge and experience that they had accumulated over the years were crumbling apart. The dead coming back to life? This can't be real. Shenhong's body was weak and he was on the verge of death. I asked you to feed him the medicine, yet you simply forced all of it down his throat. The sticky medicinal solution blocked his breathing airways, therefore sending him into a death-like state. As for why he was able to suddenly wake up, the reason is simple. The medicinal solution that I had concocted is effective. Zhong Xian said impassively. Even though the situation seems baffling, it is actually quite simple. The 10-venom medicinal solution which he had concocted had been checked by the library, so naturally, there couldn't be any problem with its effectiveness. Even though Shenhong was on the verge of death, upon consumption, the concoction took effect immediately and granted him temporary vitality. Even though feeding him a mouthful would have sufficed, Emperor Shunzui forced the entire bottle of it in. With so much medicinal solution clogging up his airways, it is already a blessing that he didn't choke to death. It was precisely because Zhong Xian saw through it that he slapped his face, utilizing the impact to open up his clogged airways, allowing him to regain consciousness. This. Emperor Shunzui and the three master teachers were astonished after hearing the explanation. A medicine that was concocted randomly is actually effective? Other poison masters prepare all kinds of measuring instruments for their concoction process, fearful that they might add a single droplet more. Yet, this fellow, just by pouring the fluids around randomly, he actually managed to succeed. Heavens, surely you are jesting with me. Of course, that wasn't the most shocking. Just a moment ago, Xianxia clearly didn't even know what kind of medicine this is. Yet, in the next instant, he concocted it as though a veteran poison master. Heavens above, can anyone tell me what is going on? Could it be really as he said, that he learned it on the spot? And just by closing his eyes, he learned all of that on the spot? Furthermore, he learned poison concoction, which is reputed to be as difficult as pill forging. The four of them felt as though they were dreaming. Thank you, Xianxia, for saving my life. Before they could recover from their shock, Royal Elder Shenhong climbed down from his bed and clasped his hands. Regardless of how close to death one is, upon consuming the 10-venom medicinal solution, one can regain their vitality and return to a pink state of health temporarily. Even though Shenhong didn't regain his cultivation, it wasn't a difficult task for him to walk around. There's no need for these formalities. Execute a battle technique for me now. Zhong Xian couldn't be bothered to waste the limited time he had and hurriedly instructed Shenhong to display a battle technique to him. That was the motive for concocting the medicine in the first place. Since the other party is sufficiently healthy to stand up, then it would be best for him to hurry. Execute a battle technique? My body is weak now and I can't propel the slightest bit of Xianxia. Even if I were to execute one now, it won't make any difference. I think it'll be best for me not to embarrass myself. Shen Hong shook his head. After experiencing death, I have already thought it through. If the kingdom survives without me, it would be for the best. But if it falls in the end, one can only say that it is the workings of fate. There's no need to be so adamant about it. Zhong Xian. I only asked you execute a battle technique so that I can compile a book on you in the library to tell your physical condition. Why are you suddenly rambling nonsense? Getting so philosophical all of the sudden. It's good that Brother Shen Hong is able to see through all these after experiencing death. Riches actually don't mean anything at all. One's cultivation is the most important. Even though it's good to possess authority, it seemed like it had impeded your growth. Otherwise, given your talent, you would have long reached Xianxia realm. Before Zhong Xian could even speak, Liu Ling nodded his head in satisfaction. His admiration for Shen Hong reflected in his eyes. Indeed. It's a pity that I have comprehended this fact way too late. Royal Elder Shen Hong sighed. Then, he turned to Zhong Xian and said, even so, I would like to thank Xianxia for your help. You've given additional time, and even though I didn't recover my cultivation, I am still delighted. Just as Royal Elder Shen Hong was just about to go on, he saw Xianxia's face gradually turning dark. Then, the latter sent a slap toward him. Pa! It accurately hit the back of his head. Pada! Before he could finish his words, Royal Elder Shen Hong's vision went dark, and he collapsed onto the floor, unconscious. I only asked you to execute a battle technique. You sure have tons of nonsense to speak. Dusting his hands, Zhong Xian harumphed the moment he turned around. He saw Emperor Xianxia and the three master teachers staring at him in shock. Chapter 188. The eccentric method to treat Xianxia. It was no wonder that Zhong Xian became angry. Given the very limited period of an incense's time the 10-venom medicinal solution granted him, that fellow refused to execute a battle technique and chose to ramble on about his comprehension of life instead. Comprehend your head. If you don't allow me to trace the root of your problem using the Library of Heaven's path, you might be released after an incense's time, but I will be forced to guard the kingdom for you. Besides, my reputation would be ruined. If my reputation were to be ruined by you, how can I make money in the future? Thus, upon seeing the other party refusing to execute a battle technique, Zhong Xian could no longer restrain himself and slapped the other party unconscious. In any case, he had already consumed the medicine, so he wouldn't die even if he were to go unconscious. And to Zhong Xian, slapping him unconscious and having him execute a battle technique meant the same thing. While Zhong Xian had slapped him merrily, Xianxia and the other three master teachers went into a frenzy. Didn't you just help him regain consciousness? Why did you slap him unconscious all of a sudden? Is there really a method of diagnosing that requires one to be unconscious? Xianxia. Just as Emperor Xianxia was about to question his action, Xianxia swung his arms and said, all right, we don't have much time. Let's get down to business. Ignoring their shocked faces, he squatted down to feel Shen Hong's pulse. Wang! His mind jolted and a book finally appeared in the library. On the cover were the words Shen Hong. He flipped it open gently. Shen Hong, the grandfather of Qianxian Kingdom's emperor, Xianxia, a half-Xianxia expert. Shen Hong's life and his bodily flaws were written on it. Xianxia, is there hope for the royal elder? As he had heard from Ling Qianyu about Xianxia's method to diagnose one's condition by feeling his pulse, he wasn't too surprised by the action. But upon seeing Xianxia frown, Emperor Xianxia couldn't help but walk over. Even Liu Ling, Zhuangxian, and the others were filled with anxiety. This Shen Hong had reached the limit of his lifespan. They were unable to come up with any treatment, and even less so, induce a breakthrough in him. Thus, they were interested in listening to Xianxia's opinion. Wake him up first. Zhong Xian gestured grandly. After having felt the other party's pulse, he was no longer as anxious and uptight as before. Yes. Emperor Xianxia placed his finger on the royal elder's philtrum and infused Xianxia into his body. Slowly, Shen Hong regained his consciousness. Xianxia. Upon awakening from his sleep, Xianxia stared at Xianxia. Just as he was about to ask the latter why he had knocked him unconscious, the other party's voice resounded. Xianxia, I'll give you two choices. You can achieve a breakthrough to the Xianxia realm and continue living. Otherwise, just as you said, if you don't mind dying, I can't be bothered to save you as well. He had to first ascertain the other party's will to live. If he wasn't willing, no matter how incredible Xianxia could be, he would be unable to save him. I can live on? Reach Xianxia realm. Initially, he was displeased with Xianxia's action of knocking him unconscious. However, upon hearing his words, Xianxia's body trembled in agitation. He knows how difficult it is for one to reach Xianxia realm. He had tried his entire life, only to fail time and time again. Now, at the verge of death, and with no more latent potential within him that can be dredged up, can he really reach Xianxia realm? If you wish to achieve a breakthrough, you can definitely do it. But if you don't want to, let's just forget it. I don't want to waste my effort. Xianxia said calmly. Of course I do. I beg of Xianxia, offer me your guidance so that I can achieve a breakthrough. Not even hesitating in the least, Xianxia immediately knelt to the floor. All signs of discontentment from before had vanished without a trace. That epiphany from before was just self-consolation for his plight. For a chance to achieve a breakthrough and live longer, only a fool would reject it. It isn't difficult for you to live on. However, circling around Xianxia, Xianxia seemed to be examining his body condition. Then, he suddenly stopped. With eyes as deep as the abyss, he said, "You have to listen to my words and follow my instructions obediently. Do not try to go against my words, or else, I won't be able to help you. In short, you just have to do whatever I ask of you and cooperate with me. There's no need for you to ask any questions. That's simple. I will do as you say." He thought that the other party would come up with a difficult request. However, upon hearing that it would be that easy, Xianxia quickly nodded his head and agreed to it. Back then, when he studied under his teacher, it was the same as well. As such, he thought nothing of it. However, the moment he said those words, he saw Emperor Xianxia and the three master teachers looking at him with sympathetic gazes. Of course, they feel sympathy for him. This Xianxia might be capable, but his bizarre means are truly hard to accept. To be asking for the other party's approval before the treatment has started, even by using one's toe to think, it is clear that he is up to no good. What's wrong? Upon seeing their gazes, Xianxia felt puzzled. He had been on the verge of death the last few days and as such, he was ignorant of what had happened to Xianxia. He thought that there was something wrong with his words. Nothing. Resisting his urge to speak, Emperor Xianxia wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He had witnessed Xianxia's eccentric means for himself. It seemed that this royal elder of his would be ravaged, just like Xianxia. It's good that you are agreeable. Emperor Xianxia, find some female dancers from the royal palace here. They must have good figures. Upon seeing him agree, Xianxia nodded his head. Then, he turned to Xianxia and spoke in full seriousness. Female dancers. Emperor Xianxia and the three master teachers were baffled. The dancers in the palace can only dance, they possess extremely low cultivation. What is his purpose of calling them here? Will getting them here help Xianxia achieve a breakthrough? Besides, he requested for those with good figures. Why doesn't it sound like a treatment method at all? Yes. Even though it was incomprehensible to Emperor Xianxia, he knew that it was impossible for him to understand Xianxia's wisdom. Thus, he quickly passed down the command without any hesitation. The personnel within the palace acted quickly and in a few moments, a dozen of beautiful dancers with voluptuous figures entered. Even though they paled far in comparison to Xianbai, they were still stunning beauties. Every single movement of theirs induced great pleasure in the audience. Xianxia, are they all right? Not bad, just that they are wearing too much. Get them to take off those long sleeves and such. Xianxia instructed. Wearing too much. Bizarre expressions appeared on the faces of the three master teachers. Looking for dancers and getting them to strip. Are you sure you are helping him to achieve a breakthrough? Why does it feel like he is patronizing a brothel and choosing a woman of his liking? If not for the fact that they were curious to see what Xianxia would do, they wouldn't have stayed a second longer. They had already witnessed how unorthodox Xianxia's methods could be. Even so, they had not imagined that it would be so unorthodox. Capable master teachers tend to be austere, and their means tend to be upright. Yet, why does your treatment method seem like finding prostitution instead? Even though they did not know what he was up to, they had a bad premonition. The dancers were properties of the royal palace. Not just stripping, they would even do other stuff without hesitation when commanded to. Upon hearing the orders, they quickly stripped the long sleeves and such, leaving behind their tight innerwear. The sight of spring unfolded before everyone's eyes. All right, Emperor Xianxia, help me prepare a few more items. Xianxia turned over and whispered into the other party's ears. Xianxia, feel free to speak of your demands. What? Halfway through his words, Emperor Xianxia exclaimed in shock. His eyes widened and he almost went insane. Xianxia, if you have such interest, I can send as many people as you like to your residence. Here isn't appropriate. Don't spout so much nonsense, hurry up. Xianxia rushed him. Yes. With a tearful face, Xianxia hurriedly made arrangements as Xianxia had instructed him to. Of the three master teachers, Liu Ling was the strongest. Even though Xianxia had spoken in a hushed voice, he nevertheless managed to overhear his words. Instantly, he staggered and a feeling of vertigo overwhelmed him. What did he get Xianxia to do? Looking at his expression, Zhuangxian and Zhengfei knew that he must have heard something. They couldn't hold back their curiosity and asked him about it. He wanted Emperor Xianxia to bring something over. Liu Ling had a blank look on his face. Something? What can it be, for Xianxia to be so shocked? It's aphrodisiac. Aphrodisiac. Zhuangxian and Zhengfei were dazed for a moment, then slowly, their eyes widened. The heck? They knew that Xianxia's solution was definitely going to be damned. Even so, when they heard of his instructions, they nearly vomited blood. It was exactly as they had guessed. The other party was indeed up to no good. They had seen people demanding for tonic, pills, spirit treasures, and secret manuals. That was their first time witnessing someone demand aphrodisiac. Looking for dancers and having them strip, then finding someone to get this item over. You sure are meticulous. Brother, are you helping him to achieve a breakthrough or are you helping him to exercise? The trio looked at Shenhong once again, an endless pity reflected in their eyes. Even though Xianxia was battered while covered under a gunny sack, at the very least, his reputation remained untainted. If he were made to do some uncultured act in public for his breakthrough, he might have just died from anger on the spot. While the others were still astonished by Zhongxian's request, a servant had already entered, carrying with him a jade bottle. It was filled with specially-made medicine. Most emperors keep a large back palace, and Emperor Xianxia is no exception. It wasn't difficult to find such medicine in the royal palace. Swallow it. Taking over the jade bottle, Zhongxian walked over to Shenhong. Yes. Royal Elder Shenhong had no idea what was inside, but at that moment, he had full confidence and awe for Zhongxian. After grabbing over the bottle, he swallowed the medicine inside without any hesitation. Looking at the other party's candor movement, the eyebrows of the three master teachers and Emperor Xianxia twitched. All right, go and dance with them. Upon seeing him swallow the medicine, Zhongxian nodded his head in satisfaction. Dance. Shenhong was taken aback. As an elder, he has to dance with these young ladies? Furthermore, they are all dressed scantily. If he were to really head over, it is likely that he will be in constant physical contact with them. Just as he was battling the conflicting thoughts in his mind, he suddenly felt a surge of heat spreading from his belly. Then, looking at the dancers once more, an urge suddenly tugged at him. TZZZZZZZ. That urge grew stronger and stronger. Soon, he found himself losing control. It must be said that the medicine which Emperor Xianxia found was indeed incredible. The medicine took effect swiftly. In a few breaths, Shenhong's eyes had turned red and he was no longer able to suppress his urge. After consuming this medicine, even if there were no enticement before the person, one would already find the heat unbearable. At the instant, there were so many beautiful and voluptuous young ladies before Xianxia. Furthermore, they were dressed scantily. It would be truly weird if Xianxia could hold himself back. With a roar, royal elder Xianxia dashed forward. Stop him. Make those dancers dance before him. The more seductive their dance is, the better it is. Xianxia commanded. Yes. Cold sweat streamed down Emperor Xianzui's head. What kind of breakthrough method is this? Feeding the other party aphrodisiac, but only allowing him to watch? Hoo. Upon hearing the commands, the movements of the dancers became more provocative and sexy. Their alluring figures swayed suggestively. Light reflecting off their snow-white skin made them seem exceptionally warm, as though jade, inviting one's hands. Their movements were exceptionally capable of evoking an itch in men. Putting aside Xianxia, who had swallowed the aphrodisiac, even the three master teachers began to feel the temptation. Will this really help him achieve a breakthrough? Initially, they had thought that beating one up was already a very eccentric method. To think that Xianxia had worse methods up his sleeves. The three master teachers were on the verge of crying. Witnessing the situation, they felt as though all the theories and principles they had learned in the last few decades were all worthless. Chapter 189, The Eccentric Method to Treat Xianxia. Xianzui, what did you feed me? Sensing the uncontrollable urge in him, as well as the indissipable heat that rose within him, Xianxia finally realized that something was wrong and he roared furiously. It's aphrodisiac. Xianzui could only answer truthfully. Aphrodisiac? I'll screw your grandma. Xianxia staggered. He never thought that a day would come which his own grandson would feed him aphrodisiac. Damn, are you toying with me? Xianxia felt that he was going insane. Royal Elder, please don't blame me. It's Xianxia who asked me to do so, I had no choice. Emperor Xianzui was on the verge of tears as well. When he almost killed the Royal Elder by feeding him the medicinal solution, a trauma was left in his heart. Now, he was reprimanded just because he followed Xianxia's instructions. What did I do? All I want is for you to live longer. In the end, this is how you perceive my good intentions. Xianxia. With reddened eyes, he suppressed the agitation within him and turned to look at Xianxia. Xianxia had an impassive and upright look, as though he would never commit such a vile act. Turning around, he slapped Emperor Xianzui on his face. Bullshit. As a master teacher, Xianxia is an upright person. How could he possibly feed me such stuff? If you dare to push the blame onto Xianxia once more, I will kill you right away. Xianzui. Upright? How in the world is he upright? Didn't he slap you unconscious just a moment ago? Talking about pushing the blame. If not for his orders, do you think that I would dare feed you this? Emperor Xianzui felt so indignant that he nearly vomited blood. He turned to look at Xianxia with a pleading gaze, hoping for him to explain the issue to his grandfather. Yet, that fellow looked at the ceiling with his hands behind his back, as though it was none of his business. It was as if he was saying, you were the one who did it, I don't know anything at all. You bastard! To think that I doted on you so much. Aya, I can't hold myself back anymore. Don't obstruct my path. Royal Elder Xianxia cursed, and he finally succumbed to the heat in his chest. With the howl of a wolf, he dived toward the beautiful dancing ladies. Right when he was about to reach them, he suddenly felt a dull pain at the back of his neck. Pada! He fell to the floor, unconscious once again. The one who made the move was Xianxia. Seeing that the Royal Elder had been knocked unconscious, Emperor Xianzui heaved a sigh of relief. Xianxia, what do we do now? Awaken him. Then, get these dancers to continue dancing before him. Xianxia instructed. Continue. Emperor Xianzui's lips trembled. Oh, right. When he wakes up, say that you were the one who knocked him out. Also, when he fails to control his emotion anymore, I will knock him out myself. Of course, you must admit that you were the one who did it. Xianxia said. Oh. Emperor Xianzui. Knocking the daylights out of a person right after you awaken them. Have you gotten addicted, or what? Furthermore, I have to admit that I'm the one who did it. Emperor Xianxia felt so much frustration in his heart that he could go into a frenzy. He was about to reject the plan when he saw Xianxia look at him with a stern expression. Don't reject me. This concerns whether the royal elder can survive. There mustn't be the slightest error in the matter, otherwise, the plan will end in failure. This time, Emperor Xianxia really cried. Royal elder, it really isn't me. It's Xianxia who wishes to do you in. Thus, right after Emperor Xianxia woke Shenhong, the latter was knocked unconscious again. Then, Emperor Xianxia woke Shenhong again, and soon after, he was knocked unconscious yet again. By the side, Liu Ling, Zhuang Fei, and Zheng Fei were stunned by the sight before them. They felt like tearing their hair out from watching the insanity that was unfolding before them. Liu Shi, you are knowledgeable. Can you tell what kind of breakthrough method Xianxia is employing? After a long moment of silence, Zhuangxian asked. I can't tell anything at all. Liu Shi's face flushed. Breakthrough method? How in the hell does this look like a breakthrough method? Of the hundreds of methods master teachers employ, there are a few fixed rules to helping one achieve a breakthrough. However, there doesn't seem to be any that involves having a person consume aphrodisiac. What's worse, it is one matter to feed the person aphrodisiac, but to intentionally find beautiful ladies to entice the person and knock him out when he can no longer control himself. I don't think that he is helping him achieve a breakthrough. Rather, it seems more like he is toying with him. It is a pity that Shenhong, despite the prestige he had built up over the years, now appears to be a frequenter of brothels. The moment he wakes up, he charges toward the bodies of the beautiful ladies. Like hell he would achieve a breakthrough like this. I think that Xianxia is toying with Shenhong. I've never heard of anyone who could break through in such a way after consuming aphrodisiac. Zheng Fei shook his head. With a steeled face, he said, this is a farce. Liu Shi, I think it would be best if we step out to interfere. How can we, as master teachers, allow such absurdity? This. Liu Ling hesitated. There's nothing to hesitate about. Look at Shenhong, he is already driven mad. If news were to spread out, his reputation would be tarnished, even after his death. Zheng Fei harumphed. Upon hearing those words, Liu Ling and Zhuangxian lifted their head to look at Shenhong. As the other party had said, the gentlemanly Shenhong appeared to be a depraved lunatic at the moment, lunging toward those seductive ladies. Also, the clothes on his body were almost completely ripped apart. His eyes were crimson red, and he seemed to be a wild, hungry wolf. But the method Xianxia used for my breakthrough was also incomprehensible. Can this be the case as well? Even though it looks awful on the surface, he is actually doing it for Shenhong's welfare. Zhuangxian's mouth twitched. You have a master teacher as your father, and as such, you are too obsessed with the conventional rules and principles. Thus, his method of inciting you into a rage was understandable. But this. How can Shenhong achieve a breakthrough like this? Putting aside whether the possibility exists or not, given Shenhong's current frenzied state, even he has sufficient junqi, it is impossible for him to achieve a breakthrough. Zheng Fei said. Xianxia is the very first difficult hurdle of the Fighter 9 dance. The gap between it and Tongxian realm is overwhelming, as though the difference between a fish and a dragon. While it is true that one gains incredible strength upon achieving this breakthrough, countless geniuses, even when in their top form, find themselves unable to make this final step. At this moment, Shenhong has already lost his rationality and is blindly charging at the beautiful ladies. In such a state, how can he possibly succeed? Isn't that a joke in itself? If it is true, no one would have to cultivate. Won't one become a Xianxia just by frolicking around brothels? But there's no buts. Liu Shi, it is best that you make your decision quickly. I can guarantee with my own life that it is impossible for Shenhong to break through like that. If he succeeds, I will chop off my own head. Zheng Fei said confidently. Boom. Before he could finish his own words, he felt a powerful aura emanating from not too far away. It felt warm, as though the fiery sun. What is going on? Hurriedly turning around to take a look, they saw Royal Elder Xianxia, who was frenziedly charging at the beautiful ladies just brief moments ago, sitting still on the floor, as though a saint. His breath was powerful and deep, reminiscent of the vast ocean. His weakness from a moment ago had disappeared without a trace, and at that very moment, as though a young man, he exuded overwhelming vitality, such that even Emperor Xianxia, who was standing by his side, paled in comparison. Fighter 8 Dan, Xianxia realm. Did he really achieve a breakthrough? All Zheng Fei felt was a stinging sensation on his face, as though he had been slapped hard by someone else. He felt like crying. He had just mentioned that it was impossible for the other party to succeed, and he was proven wrong immediately. Reaching Xianxia realm by consuming aphrodisiac? Can anyone tell me what is going on? Chapter 190. Lu Xun borrows money. While Zheng Fei was still feeling depressed over the matter, Liu Ling and Zhuangxian's mouths dropped so wide open that it seemed as though duck eggs could be stuffed into their mouths. There is a qualitative difference between Fighter 8 Dan Xianxia realm and Fighter 7 Dan Tongxian realm, and their life energies are vastly different. As such, upon achieving a breakthrough, one's longevity is extended drastically as well. An ordinary cultivator usually only lives up to 70 to 80. On the other hand, reaching 100 isn't a problem for a Xianxia realm expert. That is also the reason why breaking into this realm is so difficult. It is as though leaping across a gigantic gorge. Just by looking at how these master teachers are stuck at half Xianxia, it is clear to see how difficult this final step is. The master teachers had been paying attention to Xianxia's condition ever since they arrived at Xianxia Kingdom. His vitality had already deteriorated to the gutters, and he was on the verge of death. Even if he has sufficient Zhenqi, it should have been an impossible task for him to achieve a breakthrough, considering his terrible state of health. Yet, they had never imagined that this Xianxia could solve this impossibility with just a single pill. The vast contrast between their abilities made the master teachers feel as though all of the knowledge they had obtained throughout their careers were worthless. Initially, Emperor Xianxia shared the same thoughts as the three master teachers. He thought that that was an attempt of Xianxia to toy with him. Yet, contrary to his imagination, the royal elder really managed to achieve a breakthrough. That is Xianxia realm expert in the bones. Thank you, Xianxia. After an unknown period of time, Xianxia stood up and howled abruptly, resembling a massive dragon that had awakened from its slumber. Then, he walked to Zhongxian and knelt before him. Having been trapped in the same cultivation realm for numerous decades, he thought that he would perish without achieving the breakthrough. Yet, to think that at the very last moment, he would succeed. Witnessing the royal elder kneel before him, Zhongxian did not step forward to help him up. Contrary to that, he placed his hands behind his back, surveyed the surroundings, and slowly walked around. Xianxia's vitality was at its ends, and his deteriorating bodily functions had reached the breaking point. At that moment, his will to live had already been shaved thin. It is precisely because of this that he was able to see through life and death, view it as a natural occurrence, and no longer fear death. Under such circumstances, regardless of his state of mind or his physical condition, they were all in the worst possible condition to achieve a breakthrough. Even the more potent Tier 2 or Tier 3 pills would not have been effective in helping him achieve a breakthrough and reach Xianxia realm. Everyone was aware that he was explaining all that happened, so they stayed completely silent and listened attentively to his words. Thus, for him to live on, we had to create a compelling reason for him. Furthermore, it had to be something which he is unable to resist. All men, regardless of time and condition, are unable to resist young beautiful ladies, needless to say, after being fed with aphrodisiac. Under the stimulation of the substance, his body raged once again, returning him back to youthful times. Once all these emotions accumulate sufficiently, achieving a breakthrough becomes much easier. Of course, more importantly, his cultivation technique played a huge role. If I'm not wrong, it should be Blazing Sun formula. At this point, Zhongxian turned to look at him. Yes. Xianxia nodded his head to affirm Zhongxian's conjecture. The cultivation technique he had cultivated is the Blazing Sun formula, the strongest cultivation technique in Xianxia Kingdom. This cultivation technique contains the nature of the blazing sun within it, and a practitioner will find himself with an excess of yang energy. It is an incredibly valuable secret manual, and its true might is displayed when the one cultivating the technique is a man. Rationally speaking, as his vitality had already been sapped clean, even with the augmentation from pills, it was impossible for his body condition to return back to its peak. However, years of cultivation under the blazing sun formula had caused a large amount of yang qi flames to accumulate within his body. Then, at this very moment, they were all triggered by the medicine, and the enticement of the beautiful ladies was equivalent to throwing oil on top of the flames. Instantaneously, a massive fire was ignited within him. Thus, when he focused all of his energy at a single point, it wasn't difficult at all for him to achieve a breakthrough. After finishing his explanation, Xianxia stood quietly on his spot and looked at the others. The surroundings were deathly silent. In actual fact, he hadn't mentioned the most important reason behind Shenhong's breakthrough. Regardless of the aphrodisiac or the blazing sun formula, they were merely small contributing factors. The deciding one was him knocking the other party out. Every time he knocked him out, he would infuse a sliver of his junqi into the other party's body and unclog a blocked meridian within his body. Then, having all of his meridians cleared up, along with his raging emotions and energy within his body, he was able to push through at the very last moment and reach Xianxia realm. Due to the limitations of his cultivation realm, even though it was easy for him to deceive Sun Qiong and the others, it was likely that Shenhong would notice his pure junqi. In order to prevent him from detecting anything, he had Emperor Shenzui claim that he was the one who knocked the other party out. It wasn't because he wanted to act as a good person. Upon the other party's breakthrough, Zhongxian's junqi had already melded completely into the other party's. It was as though a pail of clear water had been mixed into a river of muddied water. It is impossible to locate it anymore. Upon hearing his explanation, the three master teachers were taken aback. The heck? This works as well? They were master teachers who had gone through rigorous conventional training, and as such, they have had many opportunities to observe how other master teachers help others achieve breakthroughs in their cultivation. Even so, this kind of breakthrough method, it was they ever saw anything like it. This is no longer unorthodox, it is simply inconceivable. It is something that no one would have ever thought of. To think that one can achieve a breakthrough by eating aphrodisiac. Has the world gone mad? There are many different methods to induce a breakthrough in one's cultivation. Most of the time, sticking to the convention principles won't work. As a master teacher, rather than sticking firmly to the old rules, one has to continue learning and trying new things. Zhongxian waved his hands casually. The setting sun cast a long shadow behind his back, and he looked like an incredible expert uncomprehended by the world. An unspeakable loneliness emanated from his figure. We will keep Xianxia's teachings to heart. The three master teachers bowed immediately. At that moment, they couldn't be any more impressed by this Xianxia. There is no way but to be impressed. Too godly. Through a random beating, he was able to induce a breakthrough in Xianxia, whose cultivation had been at a standstill for many years. A random mixing of poisons, and he was able to successfully concoct a medicinal solution that only poison masters are capable of making. Just by feeding Shenhong aphrodisiac, he was able to bring the other party up to Xianxia realm. Even though they had seen all of these with their own eyes, it nevertheless felt like a dream. Seeing that they've comprehended the matter, Zhongxian nodded his head. Just as he was about to take his leave and return back to his mansion, he saw a pair of eyes appearing before him. The face before him was flushed with embarrassment and excitement. Taking a step back, he took a closer look and realized that it was Zheng Fei. He is the person who was the most doubtful of his actions. He was even willing to guarantee that it would be impossible for Shenhong to achieve a breakthrough, or else he would cut off his head. But now, his eyes were gleaming, as though he had struck lottery. What are you up to? Zhongxian was wary of him. Xianxia, I've also been stuck in half Xianxia for many years. Since there are medicine and beautiful ladies here, I would like to try to break through to Xianxia realm as well. Zheng Fei held a jade bottle in his hands. He poured out a pill and he was about to swallow it. Zhongxian, Emperor Shenzui, Liu Ling, and Zhuangxian. It took much effort before he managed to convince the other party otherwise. Zhongxian sighed. Every person's cultivation technique, personality, and cultivation are different. As such, the relevant methods to achieve breakthroughs are different as well. As a master teacher, There was no doubt that Zheng Fei understood this. However, he nevertheless underestimated the allure of the Xianxia realm. Increasing one's longevity so drastically. Just this by itself is able to make anyone lose his rationality. In fact, Zheng Fei wasn't the only one who was moved by Zhong Xian's actions. Even Liu Ling and Zhuang Xian were staring at him with burning eyes. Since the other party was able to help the dying Shen Hong achieve a breakthrough, given that they are at the peak of health, wouldn't it be easier for them to reach Xianxia realm? Upon thinking of this, the three master teachers made up their mind to get close to Xianxia so that he would offer them guidance for their breakthrough. Understanding the intentions of the trio, Zhong Xian felt his goosebumps rising. He hurriedly bid his farewell and prepared to leave, but at this moment, a guard walked into the hall. "Your Majesty, Lu Xun and Wang Chao from Hongqian Academy request for an audience." Why would they be here at this time? Emperor Shen Zui was taken aback. Then, he nodded his head and said, "Get them to enter." It is highly likely that these two-star teachers would become master teachers in the future. Even though he is the emperor of a country, he doesn't dare to offend them. Furthermore, their parents share a deep relationship with him. Zhong Xian was also startled. Lu Xun? Wang Chao? Didn't the duo just pay me a visit? Why are they here now? Could it be that they noticed me leave the mansion and made a chase? But that's impossible. Doubtful, Zhong Xian, who was about to leave, ceased his footsteps. Even though Lu Xun had challenged him to a teacher evaluation, he had never met him. Since they had happened to stumble upon each other, it was also a good opportunity to take a look at the rival and find out his capabilities. Emperor Shen Zui commanded for the dancers to back down and had the servants pack up the hall. As Shen Hong's clothes were all tattered, he wasn't in a good position to meet anyone. Thus, he left as well. Right after the servants were done packing up and they had assumed their seats, the two young men walked in. With a clear look at their appearance, Zhong Xian frowned. Aren't they the two arrogant fools whom I saw at the entrance of the academy yesterday? After so much commotion, it turns out that they are the legendary Lu Xun and Wang Chao. It was no wonder that their gazes were filled with such contempt when they met him. They had probably recognized him then. Lu Xun pays respect to your Majesty, Liu Shi, Zhuang Shi, and Zheng Shi. The duo clasped their hands. They had met Emperor Shen Zui, so naturally, they recognized him. Even though the faces of the three master teachers were foreign to them, their master teacher robes revealed their identities. As for Zhong Xian, due to an excessively extravagant dress-up and a crude behavior, he appeared to be an ordinary rich merchant. With a single glance, they decided to disregard the other party's presence. A star teacher also has his own pride. There is no need to pay respects to everyone he meets. They had heard of Xianxia and wanted to pay him a visit, but the truth was that they didn't even know of his appearance. As such, they couldn't tell that the person sitting before them was him. Besides, they had just been to Xianxia's residence, and Xianxia was there back then. May I know the reason for your visit at such a timing? Upon seeing the two of them disregard Xianxia, Emperor Shen Zui was filled with displeasure. He was about to introduce him when the latter gestured that there was no need to do so. Thus, he could only swallow in his words and question doubtfully. Your Majesty, we have a presumptuous request to ask of you. Lu Xun hesitated for a moment before speaking. We hope to borrow 3 million from your Majesty. Borrow money. Emperor Shen Zui was puzzled. Given their illustrious family backgrounds, why would they need to request this of him? Besides, why do they need to borrow so much money at that? We hope to pay a visit to Xianxia, and your Majesty has probably heard of Xianxia's protocol as well. In order to enter his mansion, one has to pay 3 million. Upon seeing his doubtful expression, Lu Xun got straight to the topic at hand and spoke of his motives. Once we meet Xianxia, we are confident that we can convince him to accept us as his apprentice. By then, he will definitely return the 3 million to us, and we will be able to return the sum to your Majesty. Pay a visit to Xianxia. Upon hearing his motive, Emperor Shen Zui and the three master teachers glanced at one another. The Xianxia that you said you want to visit isn't seated too far from you now. Yet, due to your arrogance, you refused to even greet him and chose to disregard him. Even so, you wish to become his apprentice. A peculiar expression appeared on the faces of the crowd. On the other hand, Xianxia scratched his head as he looked at them. He was truly curious why these fellows were so confident that the 3 million would be refunded to them. Why are you so confident that Xianxia will accept you? What if he doesn't accept you, and the 3 million isn't refunded? How will you repay the loan? Lifting up his hand to stop Emperor Xianxia and the 3 master teachers from revealing his identity, Xianxia glanced at them curiously. Thank you for listening to Panda Audiobooks. If you love what you hear and want to support my work, check out the PayPal link in the description. Every bit helps. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notifications bell to stay updated with all our latest audiobook chapters. We'll see you in the next one.